Do you know your credit score? You probably do. 200 million Americans have one. 90% of top lenders use it to decide if you deserve a loan, a house, a future. A three-digit number calculated by a private company, using a formula they will not show you, determines whether you can participate in the economy. Your landlord checks it. Your employer checks it. Your insurance company checks it. A number you did not ask for, assigned by companies you never hired, controls more of your life than your degree, your resume, or your savings account. And here's the part that should make you furious. The system was not designed to measure your financial health. It was designed to measure how profitable you are to lenders. I am going to show you who invented it and why. How a number built to sell debt became the gatekeeper to modern life. Why the most financially responsible behavior in America, paying cash and avoiding debt, gives you the worst score. And why 3 private companies that have been hacked, fined, and sued hundreds of times still control the financial identity of every adult in the country. This is not conspiracy. This is their own business model. Before 1956, your creditworthiness was a conversation. You walked into a local bank, the banker knew you, knew your family, knew your employer. He, and it was always he, made a judgment call, yes or no. That system was deeply flawed. It was racist. It was sexist. It was inconsistent. A black family in Mississippi could be denied a mortgage that a white family with identical finances received across the street. The system needed fixing. Nobody disputes that. But here is what replaced it. In 1956, an engineer named Bill Fair and a mathematician named Earl Isaac founded the Fair-Isaac Corporation in San Jose, California. Their product was a scoring algorithm. Feed in data about a borrower and payment history, outstanding debts, length of credit history, and out comes a number. Objective, scalable, no human bias. By 1989, the general-purpose FICO score launched, a single number between 300 and 850 that claimed to predict your likelihood of defaulting on a loan within the next 2 years. Banks loved it, not because it eliminated discrimination, because it eliminated cost. No more loan officers spending an hour with each applicant. No more judgment calls. Just a number. Accept or reject. And the formula that generates the number? Proprietary. Trade secret. You are scored, but you are not allowed to see the exam. Here's what we know about how your score is calculated. FICO has published the general categories. Payment history, 35%. Amounts owed, 30%. Length of credit history, 15%. New credit, 10%. Credit mix, 10%. 5 categories. Sounds reasonable. Until you read them carefully. 30% of your score is amounts owed, not amounts saved, not net worth. Amounts owed. The system does not care how much money you have in the bank. It does not care that you own your car outright. It does not care that you have 6 months of expenses in savings. It cares about your relationship with debt. Specifically, it cares about something called your credit utilization ratio, how much of your available credit you are currently using. The optimal ratio, between 1 and 9%, not 0. Using 0% of your credit means you are not borrowing. And not borrowing is, to FICO, indistinguishable from not existing. Let me say that differently. If you have a credit card with a $10,000 limit and you pay it off in full every month and carry a 0 balance, your utilization is 0. Your score drops. The system penalizes you for not owing money. And if you do not have a credit card at all, if you live within your means, pay cash for everything, carry no debt, you do not have a low score. You have no score. You are invisible. The most financially responsible behavior possible makes you a ghost in the system that controls your access to housing, employment, and insurance. 26 million Americans are credit invisible. They have no file at any of the 3 credit bureaus. Another 19 million have files too thin to generate a score. That is 45 million adults who cannot rent an apartment from a major landlord, cannot get most jobs at Fortune 500 companies, and cannot qualify for a standard mortgage. Not because they are bad with money, because they are not in debt. Now here's the part that reveals the real purpose. 15% of your score is length of credit history. The longer you have been in the credit system, the higher your score. This is not a measure of financial competence. It is a loyalty program. Start borrowing young, keep borrowing forever, and the system rewards you. Close your oldest credit card? Your score drops. Pay off your student loans? Your score drops. Reduce your credit mix from 4 types of debt to 2? Your score drops. Every action that reduces your exposure to debt is treated by the algorithm as a negative signal. The system was not designed to reward financial health. It was designed to reward financial dependency. And who runs this system? Not the government, not a regulated utility. 3 private companies, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, combined annual revenue over $14 billion. They collect your data without your permission, sell it to anyone willing to pay, and face almost no consequences when they lose it. September 2017, Equifax announces a data breach. Social security numbers, birth dates, addresses, and driver's license numbers for 147 million Americans, half the adult population. Exposed, stolen, for sale on the dark web. The breach had been active for 76 days before Equifax detected it. 3 senior executives sold nearly $2 million in Equifax stock in the days between discovering the breach and disclosing it to the public. The company's response? A website that was itself flagged as a phishing site. A 1-year free credit monitoring offer. From Equifax. The fine? $700 million. Sounds large until you realize Equifax's annual revenue that year was $3.4 billion. The fine was 20% of 1 year's revenue, for losing the financial identity of half the country. No one went to prison. The CEO retired with a $90 million pension. Within 2 years, Equifax's stock price had recovered. The market sent a clear message. Losing everyone's data is a survivable event. And this was not the first time. Equifax had been breached before. Experian was breached in 2015. 15 million T-Mobile customer records. TransUnion's South African division was hacked in 2022. 54 million records. These companies cannot protect the data they collect about you, but they are still allowed to collect it, still allowed to sell it, still allowed to score you based on it. Because there is no alternative. The system has no opt-out. And that is the real innovation, not the algorithm, the lock-in. Because credit scores no longer just determine whether you get a loan. They determine whether you get a job. The Society for Human Resource Management reported that nearly half of employers run credit checks on job applicants. You cannot pay your bills because you do not have a job. You cannot get a job because you cannot pay your bills. A feedback loop with no exit. They determine whether you can rent an apartment. 90% of landlords screen tenants by credit score. Cannot qualify for a mortgage because of your score. Your only option is renting. But the landlord checks the same score, a number, designed to predict loan default, now predicts whether you deserve a roof. They determine what you pay for car insurance. In most states, insurers use credit-based insurance scores to set your premium. A study by the Consumer Federation of America found that a person with a poor credit score and a clean driving record pays more for car insurance than a person with a good credit score and a DUI. Your financial history is now more important to insurers than your driving history. And now you begin to see why the system works this way. Because credit scores do not exist to protect lenders. They exist to create borrowers. The entire business model of the American financial system depends on people borrowing money. And credit scores are the enforcement mechanism. Here is the feedback loop. You are told from age 18 that you need to build credit, open a credit card, use it responsibly, carry a small balance, start early, build your score. You're not being taught financial literacy. You're being trained to enter the debt system as early as possible and never leave. The credit card industry spends over $20 billion a year on marketing. Average credit card debt per household, $10,200. Average interest rate, 22.76%. On a $10,000 balance at minimum payments, it takes 27 years to pay off and costs $19,000 in interest, nearly double the original debt. The credit card industry collected $105 billion in interest and fees in 2023 alone. And the student loan system works the same way. Borrow at 18. Graduate with an average of $37,000 in debt. Cannot discharge it in bankruptcy. Congress made sure of that in 2005. Cannot negotiate the terms. cannot escape. Your first act as an adult is to sign a contract that follows you for decades. Total outstanding student loan debt in America: $1.77 trillion, spread across 43 million borrowers. Average monthly payment: $503. For degrees that in many cases do not lead to salaries that can service the debt. And now the newest addition to the debt pipeline: buy now, pay later. Affirm, Klarna, Afterpay, splitting a $60 purchase into 4 payments. 43% of buy now, pay later users have missed at least one payment. And beginning in 2024, buy now, pay later payments are being reported to credit bureaus. A missed payment on a pair of sneakers now affects your ability to rent an apartment. The pattern is always the same: create a need for credit, punish anyone who opts out, make the scoring system opaque, profit from the debt, repeat, from credit cards to student loans to buy now, pay later. Each generation gets a new on-ramp into the debt system, and each on-ramp feeds the same 3 companies and the same scoring algorithm. And consider what happens when you try to do the right thing. You pay off all your debt: your credit card, your car loan, your student loans. Congratulations. Your credit mix drops from 4 accounts to 0. Your amounts owed drops to 0 utilization. Your oldest account closes, reducing your length of history. Your score can drop by 50 to 100 points from eliminating all debt. You are punished. The system does not want you debt-free. It wants you optimally indebted, carrying just enough balance to be profitable, never enough to default. The sweet spot of American financial life is not wealth. It is managed debt. They did not build a measurement tool. They built a compliance system. Borrow young, borrow often, never stop, and we will let you participate in society. And the strangest part? Most of the world does not do this. In 2023, the Federal Trade Commission published a study finding that 1 in 4 credit reports contain errors significant enough to affect the consumer's score. 1 in 4. 79% of consumers who filed disputes with credit bureaus reported that the bureaus failed to properly investigate their claims. The system that controls your housing, employment, and insurance cannot even keep your data accurate. And when it gets your data wrong, the burden of proof falls on you. You must dispute. You must document. You must wait 30 to 45 days. And if the bureau sides with the furnisher, the bank or the lender that reported the data, your options are a lawsuit you cannot afford or accepting a score you did not earn. Germany does not have credit scores. It has SECUFA, which tracks negative events, defaults, bankruptcies, but does not reward ongoing debt. If you have no debts and no negative marks, you have excellent credit, the opposite of the American system. Japan uses a similar model. So does most of continental Europe. In these countries, the absence of debt is evidence of financial health. In America, it is evidence of nothing. Even the United Kingdom, which does use credit scores, regulates its credit bureaus as utilities under the Financial Conduct Authority. Disputes must be resolved within 28 days. Consumers have the right to add a 200-word notice of correction to their file. The bureaus are accountable. In America, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau receives more complaints about credit bureaus than about any other financial industry. Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion are 3 of the 5 most complained about companies in the CFPB database. And yet they remain self-regulated, accountable to no one, protected by their own indispensability. There is no law requiring you to have a credit score. There is no law requiring employers to check it. There is no law requiring landlords to screen by it. These are choices made by industries that profit from the system. And the system profits because you have been taught that your score defines your worth, that improving your score is a financial goal, that monitoring your score is responsible behavior. You are not the customer of the credit system. You are the product. The customers are the banks, the landlords, the insurers, and the employers who pay Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion for access to your data. 300 million credit files, sold and resold, breached and rebuilt, scoring 200 million Americans on a scale that rewards debt and punishes independence. Maintained by 3 private companies that cannot be voted out, cannot be boycotted, and cannot be escaped. Your score is not your financial health. It is your compliance rating, and they made sure you cannot live without it. If this changed how you see that three-digit number, if you now understand that improving your credit score means making yourself more profitable to lenders, not more financially secure, then you are beginning to see how the system actually works. Subscribe. Because every video on this channel exposes another layer of the same machine. The money creation, the inflation, the bailouts, the scores, all connected, all by design. They told you your credit score is your financial reputation. The truth is, it is their leash, and you have been trained to tighten it yourself. Your score is not a measure of your worth. It is a measure of your usefulness. And you were never supposed to know the difference.